Make this make sense to me. How can you complain about the state of the wages and unemployment in the country and yet advocate for a far left open border policy without seeing the connection? That's the level of cognitive dissonance that this student displayed, only to be schooled by Charlie Kirk in response on how the world actually works. Just take a look for yourself, and I think you'll agree why I say that.
In the case of immigration, if you hard restrict it and make it harder to get in, the only people who are going to make the attempts to get in, or generally going to make the attempts to get in, are more likely to commit crimes.
Well, that's just not, there's no data or evidence to suggest that at all. When we've had the strictest immigration policies, crime was at its lowest in this country.
Well,
so in the 1950s,
that's correlation.
Well, no, it's actually direct causation. Right now, we have wide open borders, correct? DNA background testing from over 120 different countries.
Sure, but I don't think that has to do with the process of getting into the country. Well, it has to do with the process of getting in the country, because if it's extremely difficult to get in through legally, people are going to resort to coming through illegally.
Well,
is that not true?
Well, but we should just prevent both. I mean, that's the point.
You should prevent people getting in any way?
Yeah, well, we should have a total immigration moratorium in this country completely.
We have like the lowest unemployment we've had in a long time. Wouldn't we want more workers?
No, we want wages to go up for American workers.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
Well,
so you want to restrict the labor pool so that you guys get the jobs first, not some competitor from Korea or Japan that comes in and steals your tech job. Shouldn't we invest in American workers first before foreigners?
We should.
But why do you think wages are not keeping up with inflation? Because we're bringing in millions of people into this country every single year that you guys have to compete against, and they don't have student loan debt. So they're able to undercut wages every single year.
Wait, so let me get this straight. If controlling immigration hypothetically leads to higher crime somehow, we should loosen the border and make illegal immigration easier? That sounds like an argument we've heard in the debate around abortion, which says that outlawing it would only lead to an increase in illegal abortions. That's just fallacious circular logic. By the way, this is a great time to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we've got content in the pipeline that you cannot miss. But let's give this kid the benefit of the doubt because the retaliation between mass immigration and wages have been well documented. For one, more than 99% of businesses in the United States are classified as small businesses, which are either run as sole proprietorships or as business of a few hundred people. And guess the kind of employment these businesses create? It's service work, construction, hospitality, food service, truck driving, etc., all of which are low-skill and low-wage jobs in this country. In other words, it's the most vulnerable segment of the American working population and the first to take the hit when an influx of millions of new people across the border come offering much lower labor costs and drive down their wages as well. It's the simple economics of supply and demand that has somehow gotten lost in the haze of our politics around this debate. I don't know if this student has formally gone out in the job market and seen how difficult it is to survive, but he certainly wouldn't be so callous as he is now.
If you want to get wages up, shouldn't you want to restrict the amount of workers in the workforce? So if you have 200 people you could hire to fix a window, or 30 people to hire to fix a window, which pool is going to have the higher average wage?
I think the smaller pool would.
Okay, we agree.
The issue is a lot of people right now aren't wanting to go switch to other jobs all the time. And when you get more people and more jobs, you're likely to have more churn through there.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we disagree on that.
Okay, cool. So that's why I'm saying.
Yeah, but you don't have me convinced on the immigration issue, though.
Okay,
because if you restrict immigration across the board, then you have a prioritization and a lesser pool of competition for foreign-born American labor.
Sure, but I think, am I wrong in saying your issue is that you have issues with specialized labor coming in and taking the positions of higher, paying more specialized?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's specialized muscular class labor, which is conflated. Yeah. So there's advanced manufacturing too, which does not require a college degree, but can take 6 to 9 months of apprenticeship. Or for example, being an auto mechanic. That's not exactly being a coder, but that's tough work.
Okay, so now we get to the flip side of the issue that has been in the news for quite a few days now. Does the same principle apply to highly skilled labor from abroad? This is where the debate around the H-1B visas come in. That has created somewhat of a rift in the Republican Party. Supposedly, though I think that it's all speculation. And now to Charlie's credit, he has been consistent on his prioritization of the American worker across the board, even at the expense of the American corporation. And that is already surprising for someone who's solidly right-wing and capitalist in economics. There's around 60 to 80,000 specialized H-1B visa issues in this country a year that fill some of the highest tech and most high-paying jobs in the United States. And as much as people like Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon Musk want to think of America as a soccer team that should get the most elite players from around the world, there still is a cost. The cost is that it becomes a crutch for companies that don't let high-skilled talent rise locally. And on that issue, Charlie was pretty vocal, even disagreeing with someone like Vivek, who he's even on very good terms with.
This is a violation of our social contract. And it sounds good. Let's just let more H-1B workers in. But what about the 23-year-old that went to University of Washington and studied computer science at the UW Computer Science Department? Shouldn't he be given preference above someone who could do the work for far less? It is about priorities, and it's not about what Charlie Kirk wants. It's not about what other people want out there. And I have friends on both sides of this debate. It's very simple. It's what the American people wanted. And the American people overwhelmingly voted for less immigration and the prioritization of the American children and the American worker, not the American oligarch.
It is interesting he chose to use the O word here, oligarch, because that's a term we're increasingly seeing from the left to describe Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's close ties to the Trump administration, despite not being elected. Make of that what you will. But he's at least right on one thing. It's that the ultimate arbiter of what policy on immigration is adopted is still the American voter, and they spoke loudly in this election to the halls of power. In fact, a poll from earlier last year revealed that more than 80% of Americans believe the Biden administration is doing a bad job handling the border crisis. With a number that big, it's not just a partisan issue anymore. Despite that, the kids still struggle to understand the simple economic fact that the world doesn't just work as simply bringing in more people from abroad and letting them do all the jobs without a massive ripple across the entire economy.
My biggest issue with the right is that, why are we restricting more immigration other than illegal immigration, but why are we not proposing ways to loosen immigration to fix the jobs that aren't like that? Because there's most jobs aren't generally in those classes.
No, you're coming after this in good faith. My response would be, we need a national training program to get Americans properly trained before we try to import foreign labor to fill those positions. And that goes back to my college as a scam type postulation. So we have oversupplied the credentialing, which is 4-year college degree, and we've undersupplied the 6 to 9 month specialization vector. And because of that, we have massive job openings. I want to get to the next question. Thank you.
Precisely. And that's why you're seeing such a rapid surge in trade schools and vocation institutes that impart real-world practical skills over university degrees. The thing about this kind of homegrown labor is that it's very fragile in the face of competition and can be very easy to undercut by a worker from abroad that's willing to work for much less. That's where the role of the government comes in to protect the American worker, or at least that's what Charlie seems to believe, which is surprising because it's almost a strange intersection of his ideas on free market and limited government. But let me know in the comments what you thought about this exchange, and share this with any tradesman you know that can lend an important voice to this conversation. I think we're entering an era where Donald Trump will have the strongest mandate to come through on these promises of a pro-American worker agenda, and that's why it's worth keeping an eye out for over the next 4 years.